second virtual town hall. And that's interesting to me because we do town halls about every 6 weeks. And so this 6 weeks has felt like at one time, both the longest 6 weeks of my life, and at the same time, it feels like this just started. And so I feel the weight today as we talk for a few minutes to want to communicate with you effectively and in a way that recognizes the significance of what's going on right now. So, I realize we all have multiple jobs to play. We're coming from a work perspective as we talk today, but that's not our only job. We're all mothers and fathers, children, grandchildren, sometimes responsible for our parents, our grandparents. We're volunteers in our communities. And so we have these multiple roles to play. And sometimes what's going on right now tugs at us. It certainly tugs at us from a work standpoint, but it also tugs at us from a home standpoint. And so for some of us, this has been really a pleasant surprise that we get to work from home. And from others of us, it's been really difficult to work from home because of the logistics that creates. So we recognize that and we want to put that on the table. I don't have to share the industry headlines with you because we've all seen it and we're living it. It's so surprising to me to think that just recently as last year, we were celebrating energy independence. And yet today, here we stand, demand has fallen off by 30% or more. We've got a huge glut of supply, and that's driven the price of oil down to levels we might have never seen. Today, West Texas sells for about $12 a barrel for the last time I checked. That's incredibly inexpensive. You can buy a box of pizza, a pack of light bulbs, a 6-pack of beer, or maybe a case of beer, all for less than you can buy a barrel of oil. So we're in an incredibly dynamic time in a way that we haven't seen before. And I think what's especially interesting is that's caused companies, our customers who were built to produce, to stop doing what they were built to do. So they've had to idle production because they can't sell into this market, either because there's a midstream capacity issue or because the price is just not acceptable to them. So our customers are idling their production as we try to work our way through this and figure this out. As I was getting ready to talk to you today, I looked back on my notes from the last time I did town halls, about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, back in August of 2019. This was an especially interesting piece of information that I shared with you. I said, we live out our purpose in these kinds of tough times. That was August 2019. Oil was $55 a barrel and there was no COVID crisis. And yet we were talking about living out our purpose in those tough times. I bet you don't even remember what was tough at that moment in time. But there was a challenge that we were going through at that point in our history very recently. And so as I've reflected on that, there's a couple of things that I take away from that. Number one, what I realized is that challenges are expected and they're completely normal. This is a part of our business. It's a part of our industry. It's a part of every business. So challenges are normal. We have to draw strength from the things that we believe in and are built on, no matter what those challenges are. So we know the challenges will come. Let's draw strength from the things that we believe in, regardless of whether or not we're having a challenge at the time. And then the last thing that I take from that is we can come out of this stronger. Make no doubt. We can and will come out of this stronger. And I'll spend some time in a minute telling you why that is and why I believe that is. So we've talked quite extensively in the last weeks about the strength of a tree. And I think it's a beautiful and it's a perfect metaphor. When a tree comes out the ground, it's got some inherent strength, but it's not as strong as it will be until external forces push on it throughout its life. So as wind and rain and hail and hurricanes and all these things push on that tree through its life cycle of growth, they actually strengthen the tree and give it the ability to be stronger and stronger as it grows. So, as I think about that metaphor in our life, we don't invite stresses in our life. I don't know anybody who wakes up in the morning and says, I cannot wait to face today's challenges and be stressed out. No, we wake up in the morning and we say, man, I hope today everything goes perfectly and I hope things are smooth. But it's those outside pressures in our life as they push on us that cause us to grow and remain strong. So today we have lots of unusual things pushing on us. And it might not feel like that in the moment, but those are the things that as they push on us as an organization and as individuals, they cause us to grow stronger. Our commitment has to be to not let this time be wasted. We have to take that, we have to use it, and we'll grow stronger because of it. So what we're looking at is plotting a new course through this. And part of that is we look back at 73 years of history that this organization has. But because we have 73 years of history does not mean we automatically get to have 73 years of future. We want to look back on that history, we want to learn from it, and we want to lean on it, but we don't want to depend on it. And we're going to plot a new course that recognizes and respects our history, but is not stuck in the past. So, goodness can come from hardship, but it doesn't have to. It's all about our attitude and our perspective. If we focus on the negative things, we're not going to get the full goodness. But if we look for opportunities and we focus on the positive things, it'll refine us for our purpose. So all these things don't make the hard less hard. We continue to have to make difficult choices through this. But let's have an awareness through that we're being refined for a greater purpose and opportunities on the other side. So something that I keep coming back to is people and purpose. I've talked a lot about purpose. For our organization, it's perfectly clear what our purpose is. It hasn't changed from 2 months ago. It will not change today, and it will not change 2 months in the future. Our purpose is about honoring God and developing amazing people so that we can solve challenges like no other time in our industry and in our history. But it's also about people and purpose. That's what I keep coming back to. And we should recognize that this is a wonderful company built on amazing people who do amazing work every day. But yet lots of us don't have jobs today, or lots of the families that were part of our work family are not today. In the last 2 months, we've lost about 800 people that formerly worked with us. That's really hard. When you care for something deeply, it makes it hard to let go. And I think at the same time, this is what makes it hard for us and makes us special as an organization. We care for every person that works for this company. And yet we've had to let people go because their jobs are not there. We don't have the same amount of revenue to support. The opportunities are not there. And so I want to pause and just recognize that that's a really hard part of this process. And we support and just want to think about those people as they had to go along. But the strength of our organization is derived from our purpose. And it's like a star in the night. It's like the North Star. If you can look up in the night sky and locate that purpose, it singularly does not move in the night sky and tells you where you are, where you need to go, and it cuts through the darkness. And that's what our purpose is like. So we need to continue to focus on and look far and realize what is our purpose driving us to. And we will come out stronger. I referenced that a minute ago. If you look around us, there are tremendous opportunities in this cycle. Some we know, others we don't, and some we haven't seen yet. It's my belief that for companies that are strong enough to survive, that are brave enough to take risks, and are wise enough to identify those opportunities, will exit this time in our history or in history stronger than any other time. But that doesn't make it any less hard in the moment. We're 30% smaller as an organization than we were just 2 months ago. That's been a really rapid pullback. Our customers are reducing the opportunities and putting pressure on us. And there may be a temptation to think about, boy, the customers are really being difficult. The customer is our enemy. And we've got to take that out of our vocabulary if it ever came in and think about our customers are in the same situation that we are. And this market is putting pressure on them. They need us to step up. And they need us to create solutions for them. So we're in this together with them. You could say that we're in a good position to survive, and we are. So if you look at our financial metrics and the stability and strength of our organization, we're in a good position to survive. But I think that's too low of a bar. Survival is not good enough. We want to win. We want more than that. We want to come out of this better and stronger. So let me talk for a minute about what we're doing as an organization to not just survive, but to win. First thing we're doing is taking a long-term view. So there's some very tactical things that we need to do today in this environment to make sure that we're taking care of our business. And we're doing those things along the way. But we're doing that with a perspective that looks beyond the next days, it looks beyond the next weeks. We're looking out ahead and saying, what kind of organization do we want to be when we come out of this? We're establishing that and we're going to work towards that. So that means that we have to look at our strategy and recalibrate it. Our strategy for 2020 was established just a short time ago. We're only 5 months into 2020. And as I look at some of the things we've done an amazing job of accomplishing some of our strategic objectives. We released ICANN to the market. We've established a new Permian organizational structure and put some new team members in place because that's a core strategic market for us. We worked on credit management and making sure that we've got the right policies and procedures in place to work through such a situation as this. Perfect timing. We've worked on KSAs and competencies to make sure that we've deployed the people with the right skill sets and that we've mapped to the right training and abilities that you need to do the work that we ask you to do. We've started a journey for us around diversity and what that looks like within our organization. And I can tell you it's going to be completely consistent with who we are as an organization and maybe completely different than what the market thinks of diversity. But for us, we want to find the best and the brightest and unleash their potential to do amazing things on behalf of our customers. That's what diversity looks like for us. So we've started that journey. Some of these things seem a little bit old already because just a little bit of time has passed, but we made a lot of progress. But now our new focus is emerging and we're looking forward. So we're going to continue to build on these things, but we want to look forward toward a new focus. And for us, that starts with thinking about how do we innovate in this market? And I think that gets back to figuring out what are those opportunities and how can we take advantage of them. So we are built to provide solutions to our customers. We need to innovate those solutions. We need to be an agile company. That's a word we're talking about. Agile means we need to be adaptable, we need to be nimble, we need to move quickly, but we need to define what does it look like to know that we've become agile. It's not good enough just to say it. Saying is a starting point. So we want to be innovative and agile as we create solutions. That's part of the makeup of what our future state looks like. We're also looking at other markets. Traditionally, we've been an upstream provider in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Permian, and that has served us very well for a long time in our history. But what this market has exposed is that there's opportunities to potentially stabilize the organization by looking at some other markets. So the two things that come up for us are number one, midstream. And midstream is at some points maybe a less profitable market, but it's a more stable market. So we see that as a perfect offset to what we do in the upstream. So we're looking for our entry point into the midstream market. And then the other piece that we're looking at is the renewables market. I think if you think in the longest term, what'll happen is we may continue to produce as much or more oil and gas as we do today. But as world energy demand grows, a larger share of that demand is going to go to renewables. We want to be part of that growth market. We think we can take the same competencies and abilities that we have and apply it into that market. We've dipped a toe in it and done a little bit of work, but we're looking at that as a core growth area and opportunity. And then what I would lay over all that is that we need to stay close to our customers. Our customers are going to tell us where we need to be and what we need to do and what kind of support we need to provide. So if we're really close to our customers, we understand their challenges, and we can even get ahead of those challenges and provide solutions before they ask us, then we'll be in great shape to come out of this strongly. Then I would pair that real closely with, we need to make sure that we have the right kinds of customers and the right customers. We want customers who are going to be financially viable, and that's not a given in this market. We want customers who share our values and see that we provide value to them. So our business development team and our whole of our executive team thinks long and hard and will continue to think about making sure that we've got the right customers. We're not going to necessarily do business with everybody who wants to do business with Danos. In some cases, that may be the wrong fit, but we'll figure that out as we go. So I think we're pretty well established that this market today is probably as challenging as any we might have lived through. You know what's cool though? Our customers and our industry and our communities, they need us right now. They don't just want the services we provide. And if you're in a day-to-day battle, you may feel like sometimes they don't even want the services you provide. But our industry needs us. They need the stability that we provide. They need our sense of purpose and our vision. They need the ethics that we bring to this market. And they need the jobs that we provide. So it's a cool place to be, to know that in such a turbulent time, we are well needed in this market and we can help stabilize what's going on as an industry. So we can't focus all of our energy inward and think about all the problems or the challenges that we have. We've got to solve the challenges of our customers. So I'm back to, let's look at our customers, let's look at the industry, figure out what they need, and we will reinvent ourselves to provide that. You know, I've seen lots of crises in this organization, some bigger, some smaller. You could say I've been here my whole life. So for 45 years, I have watched us walk through and walk in and out of multiple kinds of crises. I've seen you rise up and do amazing things each time. So if I look back at the past, whether it was August of last year or much further back than that, one thing is consistent. There will be challenges. And another thing is consistent. Every time, although they're different, you rise up and you exceed expectations in the way that we solve those challenges. So as the crisis has been over, we're a better and stronger organization each time. That's where my confidence lies, that we're going to be a better organization when we come out of this. Again, it doesn't mean that it's going to be difficult along the way, but I can look rationally at the past and say each time we've come out of this bigger and stronger and better. So I'm confident that I'll see that in action here again. I want to close with just 3 things that I talked about in a recent Pipeline article, and I think they're relevant here. So the first is we all have people that depend on us. We need to lean into the people that depend on us and let people lean into us. You know, our closest relationships at work and at home, they're our support network. Don't walk away or back away from them. Let's lean into the people in our life that are special and important to us and make sure that we take care of our family at home and at the office. So that's point 1. Second is I would ask you to remain committed to the things that you believed in before things got tough. You know, if you wait till a crisis to try to figure out what it is you believe in, it's too late. We know the things that we believe in as an organization, and we're going to stay rooted and grounded in those. You should think about that the same for you as an individual. If you believe the things that we do as an organization, what our purpose is, then you're perfectly aligned. But ask yourself, what is it that I'm committed to and I believe in, and don't walk away from that when times get tough. And the last thing I would ask you is when you work, be focused and committed to the tasks that you're doing. Your safety depends on it. The safety of the people around you depend on it. So there's lots of opportunities for us to be distracted. Let's try not to be distracted and be focused on the job that we have to do. Push those things away that we can't control and be focused. And when you're done, then you can worry about the next thing. So that's the end of my comments. I appreciate you taking a few minutes with me today. I do have some questions that I want to answer, so I'm going to grab those real quick and go through them. We may not have time. In fact, I know we won't have time to answer all the questions today, but I've looked at the questions you've asked, and we're going to go through and answer the things that I think most people are asking. If you've got a follow-up question that we didn't answer today, feel free to send that in the meeting or follow up afterwards, and we'll do our best to answer that. So the first one is, has Danos participated in any of the COVID-related government aid for small businesses? Do we expect or hope to see any government funding targeted specifically for oil and gas? So the most famous component of government aid that has gone out has been the Paycheck Protection Program. Because of our size, we have not been able to take advantage of that. That's the program that allows employers to continue to employ people, and it's a forgivable loan that turns into essentially a grant. So we haven't been able to take advantage of that. There has been a component of the CARES Act that has allowed us to defer our payroll taxes that we owe to the government. So it's essentially like filing a later tax return, and all that allows us to do is improve and manage our cash flow as we go forward. We're looking at this. It's very complex, as most things that come out of Washington are. There may be some tweaks or changes. There's another act coming, so we'll see how that impacts us. But I can tell you that we're very engaged at a state and a federal level through our industry and our contacts with our legislators and working these issues very, very diligently. So we want to do what's best for our industry. We want to do what's best for our company, and we're working that very, very hard. Second question is, although this is a unique time for everyone across a wide variety of industries, I was wondering if there's any updates to the 2020 strategic initiative about renewable energy projects. So hopefully I addressed that in my comments earlier. It's an emerging area. It's a great way to balance our portfolio and look to our growth market. So yes, we're definitely continue to be focused on that. Third question is, once things are back to some level of normal and we're back in the office, will we be able to incorporate days to work from home in our schedules? Man, I love that we're learning so many things right now. So we've been challenged to work in a completely different way. As I said earlier, some of you love it, and I've heard from you, and some of you absolutely hate it and say, please, can I come back to the office? So there's a spectrum there of what works for different people. At the end of the day, the short answer is we don't know yet. but we certainly want to put this on the table and evaluate it with all the other things that we're learning and say, what are the best things that we can learn from being forced to be different and apply that to our workforce. So as we ease back into coming to work, we may come back to the office fully before we figure out the answer to that question. But our commitment, my commitment is we're certainly looking at this, it's on the table. We need to figure that out. The next question is, Texas has lifted the stay-at-home order. What does this mean for Texas staff employees? Is there an anticipated date for Louisiana staff employees, and what does that look like? It's a little bit out of our control. So what we've done, and what you'll see later this week, is we've got a return to work plan or guideline. And what it really does is it mimics what's happening at a federal level and what's happening at a state level. So as those restrictions are eased, we'll ease back into working on a more normal basis. We're not in any hurry to get people back to the office. We want to do what's safe and what's right. So Texas is a couple of weeks ahead of Louisiana, but Louisiana's expected to follow close behind. It's a phased approach. There's a phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 3, which is the last phase, is when everybody is fully at work and there are no mitigation effects. We don't expect that to happen for a few weeks yet, but I would ask you to stay tuned. We'll continue to communicate. We're taking our direction from the state. And so as we see direction, we'll continue to work that. The fifth question is a tough one. Does Danos anticipate another round of layoffs due to the downturn and effects from COVID-19? So I'd love to say, no, it's not on the table, but I can't say that. You know, our long-term interest is to protect the integrity of this company. And that means making hard choices that respond to what's going on in the market and what's going on with our customers. And so that's meant, as I indicated earlier, a lot of people have lost their job. And so as our field workforce draws back, so does our staff workforce draw back. We're balancing those things. We do this with the utmost care and concern for everybody involved. And like I said, I'd love to say that it's off the table, but it's not. We'll continue to work our way through this, and we'll have to respond according to what the market gives us. You know, our general philosophy has been we want to be cash flow positive at least, and we want to meet all of our bank covenants. And so we've kind of operated within those bounds, and that's forced us to pull back and reduce our expenses so that we can meet our obligations to the bank and so that we can preserve the integrity of our operation. So just know that these are hard decisions and they're the last options, but it is an option that remains on the table. And the last question I've got is, what are your personal thoughts on when the industry might turn around? Boy, if I knew that, it would be amazing. So what we're hearing and seeing is a gradual increase in the price of oil this year as we work off this huge oversupply that we have. But what really needs to happen is demand has to come back. So demand has dropped off tremendously as people aren't driving, flying, shopping, doing all the things that we normally do because we're all forced to stay at home. So you've had this double-edged problem of having very little demand relative to where we were with an oversupply at the same time. The market will balance itself. It may happen through OPEC reductions as this happened. It may happen through production going offline temporarily or permanently, but we've got to work off this huge supply gut that we have that if you've paid attention to the news, we know there's not even a place to store all the oil that we have. So as that gets worked off, we'll start to normalize the price of oil, and I think things will start to stabilize. We see that happening into later this year, but I think we're in for a couple of years of a market where we slowly climb out of this. So where the bottom is, I don't know exactly, but I would just expect that we hit the bottom over the next months and we start a slow climb that takes us out of this over the next couple of years. That's what we're looking at, that's what we expect, but obviously we'll adjust as we know more. That's the end of the questions. I certainly do appreciate you spending a few minutes with me today, and hopefully I've helped to create some awareness about what's going on in our business, what we're doing to respond, and answer some of the questions you have. I encourage you to continue to dialogue with us, with your management, local management, managers, executives. You guys know that we try to be as available as possible and as transparent as possible. That's always our goal. So I ask you to work safe and be safe and take care of yourself and your families. Thank you.